So in my best heroes for ranking up video that I put out recently, I made a mistake in the first 5 seconds of the video in saying that Roadhog sucks. Now, this got me an endless amount of shit in the comments because obviously people disagree with that sentiment. Roadhog is a top pick for a lot of the top tier players right now, and he's super big in the 3-tank meta. You know, later in the video I did go on to say that he, you know, can be good at higher ranks, but you should be willing to switch off of him. And I do stand by that, and I do stand by all the other heroes being my favorite picks for those ranks. However, I was wrong in saying that he sucks at higher ranks, at least not without putting a very big disclaimer on that sentence. So I want to talk about how I could even make that mistake in the first place, why I made it, and sort of a clarification of that entire issue that sort of goes into how metas work in games like this, which is going to be vastly disagreed with from a lot of people also, but it's just my opinion anyway. So I said that Roadhog is very good at lower ranks because the enemy team is very uncoordinated, and that is true. And I said that he sucks at higher ranks because the enemy team is very coordinated. However, if you have a team that is equally coordinated, or even you're just running, if you're just running 2 tanks in addition to Roadhog, then Roadhog is also still good. But at the time of writing that video, that wasn't really true. The 3-tank meta didn't really exist. So the video came out probably about a month after I got the idea to write it. And when I write my videos, they usually go through about 3 to 4 weeks, usually. Not recently, it hasn't always been that way, but I try to make sure everything's perfect, ironically, and shit like this happens. They go through 3 to 4 weeks of basically revising, fact-checking, making sure it's funny. Well, the first 2 weeks are that anyway. And then it comes time to start getting footage of certain things, so that can make it take, you know, 2 more weeks on top of that, which is why it takes so long for my videos to come out. There's just a big turnaround time on lots of things. So at any given time, I've got like a few videos in the works, and what I do generally is I will write a video and then rewrite it a couple times, trying to make it funny or good or on point or whatever. And then I'll realize that having written it, I don't yet have the footage of a lot of the things I'm talking about. So the act of going through and trying to get the footage of all those different things can take a really long time, and that's why it can take like 2 weeks to get footage of something. My favorite example is when I did a Zarya video, and I realized I didn't have any footage of her, you know, wiping the enemy team with her ult. It's an extremely common thing, but I was like, all right, well, I'll write this in, and when it comes time, I'll just record that and use that footage. Well, just out of sheer luck, random chance, RNGesus, sometimes it's just not that easy, you know? You want to get footage of wiping a team, but sometimes you just get placed in bad games or whatever, and it can take hours. So, and so that's what can make a video take a very long time, especially if you're doing things that are much less common than wiping an enemy team with an ult. Say, ruining, like I also did one on Genji, where he ruins his reflect by putting his sword away in the middle of his ult. That's significantly less common and harder to get footage for that, but it had happened to me once before, and I tried to record it, and then Shadowplay crashed, as it does randomly, and I just didn't get the footage of it, and I was like, well, shit, this is something that needs to be talked about, but I don't have footage of it. So anyways, that's going on a tangent here, but that's why it can take so long for a video to come out, and that's why there can be such a discrepancy between when it's written and when it's actually released. So what happened with the Roadhog video was, basically, I started writing it before the 3-tank meta, or the top 5 heroes. I started writing it before there was a very popular 3-tank meta. And in my experience, playing Roadhog up to that point in the Diamond and Master ranks generally led to Roadhog getting isolated and picked, and so that's why I initially wrote that into the video. I did notice this slowly start changing as the video was written, and that's why I put so many disclaimers on it. I was like, he sucks at higher ranks, but he's really, really good at super high ranks because your team is super coordinated. And I also said that he's not bad, but you should be willing to switch off of him, and I stand by both of those things. The thing is, everyone knows, and this is what I was saying people will probably disagree with, but every YouTuber and that I've seen, every professional player, knows there's just a huge difference between how the game is played in tournaments and professionals and top 500 and the general ladder climb that people are doing in the public game. There's just a vast difference in the amount of coordination and teamwork. And Roadhog, now in the 3-tank meta, is very viable, but as that 3-tank meta was growing, it was still just very common for you to be one of the only 2 tanks, and for your teammates to just not really give you much interest in keeping you alive. So while he could get picks, he also got picked himself often. So that was starting to barely not be the case when the video came out, and I thought, I think this would still apply, because I don't think the 3-tank meta is going to last long now that Symmetra is starting to get her shield generator, and I feel like having more attack people with plus 75 shields may actually have an effect on that meta. So that was a judgment call that I made, thinking that while not totally true at the time, Roadhog would eventually go back into being one of those easily isolated and picked off characters, because the meta can change, and that will continue to evolve over time, and I was trying to predict it, and I guess I did a pretty poor job of that, because so far Symmetra really hasn't affected the meta that much, to my knowledge anyway. But one thing that won't change is that people in public games together will generally be very bad at communicating and coordinating. I still think like Roadhog is one of the top pick players in 500, because when you have a coordinated team, he's a necessity. When you have 2 tanks trying to keep him alive, and that's their sole job, then yeah, he's overpowered as shit. Like, you just get a pick and he's super hard to kill, and both teams need to be doing that, basically. It's very difficult to play around that. But in public games, where you can't tell your teammates to look out for you, or if they just choose not to, or if they don't know how to play, or any of these number of other factors, then Roadhog is a weaker pick than he is in the top 500, than he is in the tournament scene, than he is in professional play. Whatever you want to say, whatever blanket term you want to use to describe people who are in a team of 6 that are all communicating with each other and want to win the game on purpose. Because even up into Master, you get people who fucking just don't care. They don't care about winning. They don't care about being part of the team. They are, maybe it's not like always hostile. Maybe someone just wants to see how good they can do playing only Bastion. Like, I've seen a guy with like 120 hours on Bastion, he just refused to switch off, and he got up to Master doing it. It was like a 48% win ratio, which I don't understand, because I have like a fucking 53% win ratio, and I feel like I'm constantly going down, but that's an argument for a whole nother day. At any rate, the point that I basically wanted to make is that I did make a mistake in that video saying Roadhog sucks. Ideally, what I should have said is Roadhog can suck. The thing is, as a YouTuber, you try to make a lot of assumptions about your audience's level of knowledge or expertise in a certain area. And so, for example, when I talk about Roadhog, I don't need to do a video. I don't need to explain his abilities in every video. I just assume that people watching the video know what his abilities are, and that's on the lower end of the spectrum. The higher end of the spectrum is assuming that a lot of people, and this is a mistake that I don't know why, I should have known better. A lot of people intrinsically knew that I said when he sucks at high ranks, I'm talking about public games with a lack of communication. Probably because I've had to make that clarification in basically every one of my videos, and I'm starting to realize now that I probably always will. It's just, when you're exposed to a search ranking, a search audience, basically, that goes outside of your subscriber base, then people haven't seen your past videos. They don't know that you are automatically making that assumption. So that is an unfortunate side effect of videos that do well, is that you're not just speaking to your audience who already knows what you're saying from previous videos, but you're speaking to everyone on the internet. So when you say something like, Roadhog sucks, it's implied for me, because I've said in my videos that I'm never fucking ever talking about the pro meta, ever, literally ever. I don't care about it, I don't care, I really don't care about it, because it's not what I play, and it's not what my audience plays. It is fun to watch and get ideas, but anytime someone's talking about how someone is good or overpowered in the pro meta, I'm like, well, yeah, if you have thousands of hours in FPSs, and you're working with 5 other people that all want to win, and they're all communicating and having teamwork together, totally, that is a totally strong, valid strategy. But when you're working with 5 random people on the internet, it loses its strength. So anyways, yeah, so that was the point I wanted to try and make. It was basically a combination of many factors that I just said here, assuming my audience already knew what I was talking about, me just being kind of wrong because the meta was shifting when I was writing it, and I should have revised it at least change the wording on it to be a little more clear once release time came out. But at that point, like, I had watched and read the script and listened to the video so many times, it was like white noise to me. I just sort of took it for granted. I just wanted to make sure the footage worked for it, and I just, after like a month of listening to the same thing over and over again, that's a mistake that's gonna happen every once in a while, unfortunately. So yeah, I just wanted to put this little correction out there, basically admit that I did fuck up. That was a mistake that I made, and I probably will do a video in the future talking more about the differences in meta stuff. I think your Overwatch did that, different YouTube channel did it, but I would like to do it too, so I can basically link my own video to every person who talks about why the pro meta is the best meta and why it's just not true, and I'll probably include sources of that in that video also. But yeah, so that basically concludes what I wanted to say. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.